Howdy, kids. Your dear Uncle Birch here doing some redo. As I've stated last time I did this thing, I have, it seems that almost half my viewers are watching on smartphones. And I did several videos on my netbook, which apparently for some reason, the way the netbook shoots, those will not work on smartphones. So this is a really important video I did. I'm sure you're going to miss a lot of my great ranting that I did in the video because I don't know what I said then. Uh, so maybe you might want to watch the other video on a PC at some point. But the Big A Pentagram Method after I answer the phone. Now, suffice it to say, in a lot of systems, tracing pentagrams in the quarters is often done. Now, one of the reasons we know why this happened is because way back when the early 70s, when witches were getting organized and Wicca was getting organized, a lot of things were missing. And this is why we know that no matter what you want to call your staunch tradition is eclectic in nature. Even Gerald Gardner's system was eclectic in nature, and the Gardnerians are some of the most staunch traditionalists out there. Gerald Gardner clearly borrowed from ceremonial magic, and that was okay because what we found back when they were getting organized, they had a lot of data, they had a lot of things left behind by other systems. They had a lot of spells, a lot of lore. People had books of shadows with, from their family traditions. Um, they had no circle. Everything referred to a circle. Everything talked about doing things in a ritual circle, but nobody had a ritual circle on hand. So some people, seeing that ceremonial magic is another magical system that does have a circle, they borrowed elements of what is called the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram from the ceremonialists. They don't exactly do it the same way the ceremonialists did it. They borrowed the invoking portion of the elements from the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. So any place in any system where you see people in a corridor going like this, portions of that system were borrowed from ceremonial magic once upon a time. And a lot of people forgot how to do it. Now, what I just did was an invoking earth pentagram. What you'll see more commonly is a banishing earth pentagram with a clockwise circle, which is actually invoking. One of those little disconnects that happens over time where somebody saw somebody do something and they repeated what they saw somebody do without asking somebody, hey, why'd you do that? What's the idea behind that? This is how we lose really important things in witchcraft. And I found in my vast amount of research and polling the local pagan communities that apparently it was just too difficult for a lot of people to learn how to draw a different pentagram in each quarter. Now we know, studying my system, that some of the important things that we look at in magic is the momentum of belief. If we take an old system, an old magic, and use it today, we're calling forth all of the energies of all the people that ever did that magic. Um, Now that's important. That's extremely important. Um, but it's too daunting for some people. I kind of lost track there for a second. Now, it should be noted first of all that there are two main versions of the elemental points in the pentagram, and the one that we're using here is the older one. So if we use the older model, we add new things to it over time. It's okay to add to the craft. It's not okay to subtract from the craft. You add to it, you make it your own, you create, but you shouldn't change old rituals, especially if you don't understand what the old ritual was for. I run into so much ignorance out there in the craft, and so many ignorant people like experts, and it pisses me off because it's not hard to learn. It was a lot harder to learn when I was a kid. You guys got it easy. You guys got stuff like YouTube with witchcraft. No excuse. And a lot of times you can just watch them on your smartphone, especially when Birch redoes his videos so they'll work on a smartphone. Hold on just a second. So this is what I'm talking about. First off, you need to do this before we learn the pentagram methods. And trust me, I have known people that have been practicing the craft their whole lives and found the pentagrams too daunting to do, that have watched my video, watched my method, and now they're experts and they know how to do it. So you too can wax like an expert just by watching a simple little video. First thing what you want to do is you want to memorize this. These are the oldest assortment of points of the pentagram. Each point is associated with an element. S is spirit, A is air, W is water, E is earth, F is fire. You will find another version out there that varies a little bit different, but this is the older one. This is the one that they borrowed from the ceremonial magicians. So we want to use the older one. We'll add stuff to it. You know, you're going to have quarter calls and all kinds of other stuff doing, but actions, movement, these things bring all kinds of other energies. You may be saying sacred words that call forth the powers of your ancestors. You may be using old prayers that have been used for thousands of years. But your motions, your hand motions too, these things evoke very strong powers. So maybe you could just pause the video and stare at this for a little while or write it down. But if you just memorize the points associated with the elements associated with the points, this next part will be really, really easy. And next time you're called forth to do a ritual, you're going to look like a high muckety muck from the Far East. Been studying magic your whole life. You're gonna impress your friends. You're gonna piss off your enemies just by watching a simple little video. The Big A Pentagram Method, smartphone friendly. I'm going to move the camera over to my other thing here. Okay, here we have the Big A. Oh, and we also have a Santa Cruz Green Man right there. Here, we'll let the Santa Cruz Green Man be in the screen there. And I have a magic marker. It must be good for using magic. So first thing we want to look at the Big A. It's no secret. The Birch, me, been a lifelong anarchist. It means a lot. It probably doesn't mean what you think it means. It means far greater things, lofty ideals. But I, of course, probably borrow this from them. This Big A. Somehow people remember that, hey, Birch used a big anarchy A to teach witchcraft, and that somehow sticks in people's mind. But you see how we have the A associated with the points. Now, if we look at this A and pretend that it's the center of the pentagram, it tells us a lot. And in the portion of the LBRP that witches tend to have used, these lines are the only places you would start drawing the pentagram. Now, that kind of limits your choices and makes it a lot easier. There's, pretty much two ways you can go on each thing. Now, so if we, so first of all, most circles, it's most common to start in the east, although there are several systems that start in the north. Yeah, there's probably several systems that start in the west too nowadays. But we're going to be starting in the east. So let's say we were invoking the east, we said all of our words, and it was time to move our hands in the air. So we're going to be invoking air. Now, if we're going to invoke, we're calling it forward. So we need to go towards air. The only place on the Big A to go towards air would be if we started over here at water. You see that? I got to see where my hand is. So we'd have to start here to go towards air because we're invoking, right? So we go do, and then we follow it around. And then we're invoking, right? So as soon as we get to the end, we're going to put a clockwise circle on it. See? Isn't that easy? To invoke air, we move towards it. The only way to move towards it is from away from it, and it's right on the bridge of the big A. So from air, the next would be fire. Fire's down here, so we know we got to start on the line, away from fire. We're going to need to go towards fire. The only place to do that would be start here at the top. So to invoke fire, we'd start up here, follow the thing around, get back up to the top, clockwise circle. A lot of times in ritual, when you do that, you touch the center of the circle. Visualize big. So in ritual, when we're doing this, as we carve those in the air with our blade, we're visualizing big, glowing, like neat pentagram happening there. So, like a yellow one for air and for fire, blue one for water, green one for earth, that kind of thing. So now we've done fire. Now water. It's probably you're probably starting to catch on. A little light bulbs going on. Now, here's water over here. To invoke water, only one place. If we're staying on the A, remember, the A is what it's all about. We'll start here at air, go towards water, follow it around so we get back to where we sit, and clockwise circle all the way around. Touch the center. And so now, that's brought us to water. Now we gotta do earth. The next one's gonna be earth. Alright then, so that brings us to earth. Now, again, we've got to start at the point away from earth, and that's going to be up here at the spirit point. See it? So we have to start here, go towards earth, follow it around, get there, get up back up where we started, clockwise circle, bam. Now remember, when we invoke, we've got to banish. You don't want to leave them laying around. I'm sure I've said this in other videos, but maybe those don't work on smartphones either. What Mom said was you never just leave the circle laying around or it decays. You never leave the elements, the guardians, the watchers laying around, because the elementals will decay to their most negative form. And I've heard a lot of people that just, leave the elementals laying around. And it's like, we don't leave the fire on. We don't let the fire just lie around our house unattended. We don't leave the sink running. We don't leave all the windows open during a hurricane. We don't pour dirt on the floor. And if you think about the negative side of the elementals, like, let's see, that would be poverty over here for earth, be rage and hate for fire, be an emotional basket case with water, be a spacey, confused, probably insane person for air. This is the kind of thing you can expect. You just leave the elements and the watchers and the guardians lying around. And it's pretty damn disrespectful, too. So now, in a lot of systems, if you started at air, casting the circle, you'll start taking the circle down at earth. And that confuses a lot of people. So it might be just best to start where you started. So, you did the ritual, you already did your circle with the pentagrams, you did your ritual, you did your cakes and wine, you did whatever magic you're going to do, and, you called the god and goddess in the middle. Usually you thank the god and goddess right before you take down the elementals. We're just doing the elementals right now. So let's say if we were doing it following the traditional, or the people that are going to start in the next quarter, that would make us starting at Earth. So now banishing Earth has a similar theme as we were doing it before. So we instead of going towards Earth, we want to go away from Earth. And on the big A, there's again only one place you can go. We'd start at Earth, go around back to where we started. The difference here, counterclockwise circle. Counterclockwise circle, A lot of people stab the pentagram right through the middle of it, see the light go off, see all the things that you visualized there for the quarter going away. You know, of course, you had spoken words that went with that, thanking them and being respectful. But an important thing that I always try and remind people is we had very specific language back in the day, and when we let the elementals go, we said, go now back to your realms, harming none along the way. May there always be peace between thee and we. It was really important to send them away. To the god and goddess, we tended to say something like, stay if you will, go if you must, but between us let there always be perfect love and perfect trust. Now here in Santa Cruz, until I started doing these videos, a lot of people were saying that to the elements, saying, you know, stay if you will, go if you must, and then banishing them and leaving them lying around. That's one of those little disconnects where somebody heard something once upon a time, didn't know what it meant, didn't know what it was for, and passed it on as if they were an expert to their coven, and down the road, the trail of ignorance flows and flows until you've got to have somebody like Birch constantly going over the old stuff and putting it back in its proper form. So we banished Earth, so then we're going to go to fire. Same thing, we got to start at fire, move away from it. Counterclockwise circle, boink. Then we're going to get over to water. It's going to be the same thing. In a way, banishing water, since these two are on this same bar, banishing water is similar to an invoking air pentagram, except the circle decides, the counterclockwise circle decides what we're doing there. So we're starting at water, move away from water, all the way around, back to water, counterclockwise circle, doink. Same thing, now we're back to air. We're going to banish air, so we start at air, we move away from air, because we're banishing it. And counterclockwise circle, no air. Alright, some people are going to ask about spirit. Spirit isn't commonly invoked in the version of the LBRP that the Wiccans long ago borrowed. But there is pentagrams for that in the original ceremonial systems, and they tend to be the lines that are not the A. So we're not learning those now because that's not commonly done. We invoke the god and goddess, typically, that kind of thing. But in the original ritual, there was a pentagram at the top, and a pentagram at the bottom. And if you take it really back to its real origins, there was a hexagram at the top and a hexagram at the bottom. We're not learning those. Those will be done on these extra lines, and start on one line for the top, start on one line for the bottom, but we're not learning that. So I'm trying to make this quick little video. I'm sure I ranted about it a lot better in the original, but this one should play on a smartphone, I'm thinking. So here we have the Big A Pentagram Method, and it's mine. You can use it, but give me some credit. I don't really even need credit. I like finding stuff on the internet that I know were taught by me specifically, where I didn't get credit. It feeds my arrogance, my righteous arrogance. I like that. So you don't have to give me credit, but there is somebody off the first Big A Pentagram Method. There's somebody, I forget, one of my viewers made it into a PowerPoint program based on my teachings, using the Big A in the middle, and it's really cool because I really don't yet know how to do PowerPoint. And one of my other students sent me a link. They just kind of randomly found that out on YouTube. I thought that was way cool. So, no excuse for uneducated witches masquerading as teachers. I find so many people out there wanting to be teachers that haven't spent any time learning, haven't spent enough time being taught. Don't just spread ignorance. If you want to teach, teach, but learn for your teaching. And teaching should be a learning experience. That's why I still teach. I am I'm not even a high priest anymore in my system. I'm now an elder. I still teach. I just had an intro class start the other day. I still learn every day about witchcraft. There's a lot to learn, and you should learn. You should study. This making it up as you go along is um, makes a lot of things wrong in the world. We have the saying that there are no right or wrong ways, but there are many wrong ways in this day and age. There's people just teaching ignorant shit that they know nothing about. Ask questions. Go to rituals, watch what people do, and afterwards, respectfully, approach the priest and priestess or whoever was doing the ritual and say, hey, what's the idea behind that thing you were doing? Hey, I saw you in the air going like that. What was that? It looked like a pentagram. What was that? Um, and typically, what happened in Wicca, um, from the ignorant people that borrowed this ritual and had no clue about it, what we had is many, many strains of witches out there doing one pentagram in every quarter, and the most common pentagram that they were doing was a banishing earth pentagram. Now think about that. If we're calling the elements and you're just banishing earth all the way around, uh, how's that going to work? The way that that disconnect happens is in the original LBRP, the ceremonialist version. They went around the circle, I'm pretty sure counterclockwise, one time, and they banished Earth in every quarter. Their philosophy was, they're banishing the mundaneness of the Earth so that they could set up a spiritual temple. But what you got is you got a bunch of witches going clockwise all the way around, banishing Earth. And you can say it's okay to make it up as you go along, but there's thousands and thousands and millions of people for hundreds of years that have been doing it this one way. And this one way, when they moved their hand a certain way, it meant a certain thing. And that energy is present. We're calling forth that energy anytime that we're moving our hand in that manner for that purpose. Um, uh, and we can't just say that that doesn't exist because we'd rather make it up as we go. If you're just going to make it up as we go, why teach? Why should anybody teach? Um, there should be creativity, and there should be some foundation behind the creativity. And so you can learn it really quick. You can teach to your friends. You show your high priest and high priestess the video. If they don't know how to do the pentagram, it's not hard. It's not hard to learn the craft. You guys have YouTube and iTunes and countless web pages teaching all kinds of stuff. We had to read books, and we had to hunt for those books. We had to find occult stores to get those books in the first place. There's no Amazon.com. Couldn't just order them off of there. We had to, we had to use our feet, get out there in the world, do stuff. You could just sit on your ass, learn witchcraft. So do that. Marry me, marry part, marry me together.